Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man, isn't it wild?
The Jared Cast.
So it begins.
Yo, bitch. It's the Jared Cast.
I knew it. I saw it coming a mile away, and it still made me laugh.
How could I resist? Yeah, it's the Jared Cast. Welcome. I'm one of your hosts. I'm the Caucasian occasion that is Jared L. With me, as per usual, is the Asian persuasion, Jared A. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Feeling pretty Asian. It's
good. Celebrating your heritage today on the Jared Cast, talking about a very white show.
A very, very white show. But I'm excited because I've never watched Breaking Bad all the way through. So
yeah,
I feel like
this
it's
a fresh viewing for half of us.
Yeah. I like it's one of those things that like I tell people and they're like, "What?" Because I say like, "Oh yeah, I've seen that." Like, and if it's like
because you've seen fucking everything, every single show
except Breaking Bad, oddly enough, and The Wire.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
I haven't seen The Wire either. Maybe we do a Wire cast one of these days.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen like bits and pieces, and I know more or less what happens because just the internet. But even so, this trip was a real fun one. So I'm excited.
Hell yeah, yeah. Today we're talking season 1 of Breaking Bad. In case you didn't catch on, you're like, "Ooh, they're talking about Breaking Bad a lot in this intro." Yeah, there's a reason, and that's it. We're dipping our little toes into TV. Starting with little Breaking Bad here. Jared's gonna try to make me a weeb with some anime later down the road, and I'm excited. I'm excited for this episode. This might be the most excited I've been for an episode, since we started, honestly. But before that, top 5. We gotta do our little top 5.
Woo-woo. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Jared dropped this top 5 on me, and I was like, "What?" And but it's all good. It's all good. After a few minutes of thinking, I was like, "Okay, I can actually think of 5 that I like." But we're doing top 5 music projects by actors. So if they've acted and if they've played a thing, then they're on the list. Did you want to go first? Or should I go first?
You can go first. I feel like I always go first on these now.
Okay. My number 5 is probably the only like major curveball on the list. Because he's mostly known as a writer, director, sound designer, general weirdo. But he has acted in his own stuff, and he has acted in other people's stuff. Most notably in the show Louie on FX. But I'm talking, of course.
For some reason, my mind went to Quentin Tarantino as like some music career.
No.
I don't know why. I was like, why am I thinking Tarantino right now?
No. Of course, I'm talking about my boy David Lynch in his album The Big Dream. My favorite songs off this album are The Big Dream and a bonus track called I'm Waiting Here. For some of you, this may be a very, very difficult album to listen to because it's just as weird as everything else. Yeah, because it's David Lynch. But I really enjoy it, especially like his like weird, distorted auto-tune in the first track. It's very, very fun and interesting if you're a David Lynch stan like me.
Hell yeah. My number 5 is a bit of a curveball too. It's the only one on my list not known to be an actor, but he's here nonetheless. He has acted. He's more known as a basketball player. Because in 2014, Shaquille O'Neal had a bit of a rap career.
Yes, he
And it's
did.
actually
Yes, he
it's
did.
actually pretty tight. I'm actually into it.
Yep.
If you're unaware, Shaq he's got some sweet songs like "I Know I Got Skills" and "What's Up, Doc?" (parentheses Can we rock? Um, he's just great. He's got like it's not the best rapping. It's just not.
Right.
But he's got like charisma and he's genuinely funny, and so
Yeah.
you get some decent bars out of it. And it's just an entertaining listen. And
Yeah.
so Shaq's my number 5.
Shaq's great, man. I feel like he's
Yeah.
he's like filling the void of America's dad as the older he gets.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I'm down.
yeah.
Fuck a Tom Hanks. He's my real dad.
Yep. Yep. Um, yeah, I said before I was having trouble thinking of some, but I remembered the entire cast of Stranger Things could sing. So I was like,
Yeah,
all right.
true.
So for number 4, I went with a pretty recent one. It's Blush by Maya Hawke, who starred in season 3 of Stranger Things. It's just a, it's not anything mind blowing, but it's a nice vocal pop, country influence, folk influence album. Just kind of her and a couple instruments. But I really like the songs "Hold the Sun" and "So Long."
Hell yeah. Yeah, she's tight. Everybody, every single musician on that show has like great music for some reason.
Yeah, it's great.
Did you ever get a chance to listen to Joe Keery's music?
I did not. I spent too much
It's
time
tight.
listening to her and Calpurnia, but yeah.
Yeah. It barely missed my list, but it's like some 80s synth shit. It's tight. Yeah. But he's not my number 4, because my number 4 is reserved for the ever talented Michael Cera.
All right.
He released like a full indie folk album in like 2014. He's got a
Okay.
song with Sharon Van Etten, and it's honestly super tight.
Okay.
You get some cool vulnerability out of a guy you don't really see that from often. And he's got a halfway decent voice, but he's still got that like kind of reserved, mousy feel to him. But overall, it's some pretty good shit.
Nice. I need to. What was the song called again?
My favorite is Clay Pigeons. Ruth is pretty good. Best I Can has Sharon Van Etten on it, and she's always a gem.
Okay.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I like the original Clay Pigeons, so I'm sure I'll like that. But
Yeah.
unless it's a different song called Clay Pigeons.
I
But
actually
yeah,
don't know. I couldn't tell you.
my number 3 is quite different. But for those of you who don't know by the sound of my voice or whatever, like if you look at my last name, I'm Filipino.
What?
And part of my, or if you watch the YouTube, which no, you don't. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Part of being Filipino is that you're contractually obligated to be a loud and proud cheerleader for every Filipino artist.
Yeah. I
Even
told
if
you we
it's-
were celebrating your heritage on this episode.
Yep, exactly. That's why I was like, yes. Yeah, like even Enrique Iglesias, who's like a Latino artist, like we're like, yeah, we claim him. His mom's Filipino. But one other person we claim just broke out this year, or I guess last year, with the song "Driver's License," which went super viral. Of course, I'm talking about the album "Sour" by the artist Olivia Rodrigo, star of High School Musical, the musical, the series.
Yeah.
Shit.
Great title.
But I think Deja Vu and Hope You're Okay are super well written and super well performed songs. And I'm sure it's going to be on a lot of people's lists of favorite albums of this year. Yeah, Sour.
Deja Vu is one of my favorite Lord impressions I've ever heard.
Yep. I love it.
She wears her influences on her sleeve, but she's got a lot of talent. I'm excited to see where she goes for
Yeah,
sure.
especially for like an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Someone who we've already seen where they went and where they currently are. At my number 3, we've got an actor comedian who has one of the biggest hits of the 80s for some reason. I'm talking Eddie Murphy, Party
Yeah.
All the Time. Yeah, how many actors team up with Rick James to blast a 80s classic in everybody's face for years to come? It's great. He's hilarious and he's a talented musician. So I'm throwing him at number 3.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I love, love, love it. My number 2 is also in the comedy sphere. So is my number 1, but my number 2 is a little bit more recent than that. They started out actually as a musical act, but then they became actors and still continue to make music.
Why do I feel like I know where this is going?
Of course, I have to include "Turtleneck and Chain" by the Lonely Island.
Yo.
I as much as I love the songs on Popstar, there are a lot of skippable songs on that album, so I didn't pick it. Same with Incredibad. But Turtleneck and Chain, like songs like Jack Sparrow and Threw It on the Ground are just so iconic. Not just because of the music videos, but just they're like fun to listen to. And they also have Snoop Dogg, and Snoop's like verse on Turtleneck and Chain is like actually kind of gangster, even though he's
Yeah.
singing about a turtleneck and chain. It's great, of course.
Yeah. I didn't have him on my list. I forgot about him once again. I think
I was
I
so
think
afraid I
for
was gonna steal it
this-
from you.
No, you're good. I think for this, I don't know. I feel like I know them as musicians, and like the acting is just a part of that for some reason. I don't know
Oh
why.
yeah,
It just didn't even cross my mind to include them.
yeah, man.
And now I feel bad about it once again. My number 2 is a bit of a deep cut.
Ooh,
One of my favorite actors of recent years has to be Ryan Gosling.
what?
And a long time ago, he teamed up with like a childhood friend and made a indie folk pop horror-based album with a children's choir called Dead Man's Bones. And it's fucking good. Like it's
Okay.
weird as shit, but it's worth a listen. They played every instrument, even though they didn't know how to play half of them. And so you get this weird, like, but genuine attempt, and it kind of pays off. It's worth a listen for sure.
Holy shit! Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm downloading it right now.
Yeah, do it, dude. It's
I
a
love
bop.
I love me some Ryan Gosling, so we got to save it. My number 1 is not obscure at all. In fact, it's sort of a soundtrack, but it also stands out well on its own as an album. I actually listened to the album before I watched the movie, so
Mhm.
that's how good and well structured the story of this album is. Of course, I'm talking about "The Pick of Destiny" by Tenacious D.
Yo.
Uh, songs like "Kickapoo" and "Classico" and "Master
The
Exploder."
longest fucking time ago, when a time called Kickapoo.
Yup. Exactly. Like Master Exploder changed my life. Like I was
Yeah.
like, you could do that with yours. Like, and Jack Black is like a legitimately great singer.
Uh,
If you don't believe me, Google him singing the national anthem. It's amazing. And I also really love this song Beelzebub, The Final Showdown. Yeah, great album. And just yeah, an amazing and funny and weird acoustic metal album.
yeah. Absolutely. Definitely got a good place in both of our hearts. But not my number 1. My number
Ooh.
1 is mostly just for shock value, is why it's this high.
Okay.
Because this shit's gonna be like the fact of the podcast. Um, but in the 80s as well, uh, a actor, comedian who I have very mixed feelings about, mostly negative in terms of his acting and stand up. But Ricky Gervais was in a new wave synth pop band called Sayona Dancing that reached like #1 for a long ass time in the Philippines. And if that's not mind blowing, I don't know what is. But it's genuinely good. He's just doing a David Bowie impression to some synth pop, but it's fantastic. I really like it.
Oh my god. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah, their single "More to Lose" was a teen anthem in the Philippines for like a decade.
I gotta ask my dad about that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So #1, Sayona Dancing.
Man, what a list. That was great.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we had
Yeah.
no overlap. That was cool.
Yeah, look at us go. I'm always proud of us when we pull that off.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm surprised there's no Flight of the Conchords on your list either.
Yeah, same thing as like Lonely Island and Tenacious D. I don't know why. I was just like know their music more than their like acting, and so in my mind I just kind of let them go. Also, it's a lot funnier to just talk about Ricky Gervais and the synth pop band. So
True.
yeah. If
That's funny,
I would
man.
genuinely put all three of those on a list of like ones that I listen to most and actually like appreciate more.
Yeah.
But fuck it. Ricky Gervais and Ryan Gosling, weird obscure music. Also, not making my list, but Bruce Willis was a blues rock artist a while ago too, and it's pretty bad, but it's
Yeah.
worth note.
I almost included him just to make fun of him. Same with William Shatner. Did you ever listen to that cover that I told you about?
Yeah. Wasn't good,
No.
but I couldn't stop listening.
Girl with kaleidoscope eyes.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh. Anyways, you know who
Meth.
doesn't have a who doesn't have a music career? Actually, I don't know. Aaron Paul strikes me as having like a failed rap career starting out. I can't confirm or deny, but he has that energy.
Just the way he dresses in this show, you know he has 5 mixtapes.
Yeah, Tom Hardy was a rapper at one point too.
Oh my god, of
He
course he
was
was. Of course he was.
Oh, anyways, we're gonna be distracted all episode.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk Breaking Bad. But before we talk Breaking Bad, Crepuscular Nomad is gonna talk Breaking Bad in
Cool.
Bad reviews. Yeah. Jared reads poorly written reviews of shows that we were watching because it's funny and it makes him laugh and stuff. I've
Hell
said
yeah.
it so many times that like it's weird to change.
Yeah.
This one's great. It's very long, and so I might on the fly cut it down. But they gave it a 1 out of 10, saying this show is only suitable for teenagers. In my opinion, this TV series and others, such as Game of Thrones, also along the same lines are only suitable for teenagers who enjoy films that depict violent actions. This series does not have a clear point. If as some say, the movie shows that one has to be fearless in life, we see that it's exactly this line of thinking that led the character and those around him to utter ruin. So the message cannot be this. If, however, the movie is for entertainment, it has failed to do so as well. The tone is not facetious enough, but it may be argued that this TV series is serious fiction. If this is not true either. End of sentence. If it is serious, we must see some clear point in which the movie fails to make. If the theme of the series has the consequences, as many argue, up until the fourth series, the only deliberate and evil choice Walter makes is that he decides to cook meth, and it is justifiable because, as a good man, he has failed to provide for his family. It is, and it is to protect Jesse and later himself and his family that he is propelled to run over two guys. Oh, this is spoilers for later stuff. I'm gonna skip all of this. The waiters seem to make up the plot as they go and along, and the excitement of the violence attracting a large audience and winning awards is what the show, in my view, is all about. Recently, the series such as this one and Game of Thrones rely more on violence and naughty plots that teenagers enjoy to put on clothes of serious fiction rather than tell the audience a good story that they can enjoy.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So this is all violence the whole time.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Wait,
yeah.
so is this review for the whole series or just for season 1 and 2?
It was for the whole series.
Oh, okay.
I was struggling to find just season by season, so I'll probably just pick a different whole series bad review or see what I could pull out of my ass for all 5 seasons of this show.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah. But Breaking Bad, it's my favorite show of all time. A lot of people say it's the best show of all time. I've seen it too many times. I think it was my 5th or 6th watch.
Right.
Which is more than anybody should watch any show. I'm looking at you, Office fans. But I love it. It still captivates me. We were talking before, and I'm already like halfway through season 2, even though we were supposed to only watch season 1, because I can't stop myself. It's just that fucking good.
Right.
There's more than just violence. You got a lot of commentary throughout, which we'll talk about. And I love it a lot. I think it's the best. I'm gonna nerd out about it this whole time, so I'm not gonna go on for too long here. But I'm very curious to hear your thoughts, Mr. Fresh Eyes over there.
Yeah. I was expecting to like it a lot. I didn't expect to like immediately want to click on season 2.
Yeah, it hooks you. Even after the pilot, you're like, okay, yeah, I want to watch this whole fucking show.
Yeah. I remember like not riding the hype wave, but like just watching it pass by, and man, so for those who don't know, or have been living under a rock, like the first 4 seasons of Breaking Bad didn't get a whole lot of viewers until they were put on Netflix, right? And when season 5 drops, that's when that's when kind of binge culture started. On the Netflix
Pretty
streaming
much
service
that day.
Yeah, and so this show kind of confirmed what everybody was thinking, that the 21st century is like the new golden age of television. You know, it was kind of the successor to the greatness of Sopranos, and put AMC on the map. At one point, AMC was airing this, Walking Dead, and Halt and Catch Fire, and like a couple other great ones at the same time. Like they were Mad Men. That was the other one, Mad Men. Like everybody was watching AMC, and they still kind of are. But yeah, I was really stoked to watch it because I kept putting it off. Kind of just like, and over the years, it kind of became like this badge of honor. Like, I'm the only one that hasn't seen Breaking Bad. But of course, you know, I've never been happier to be wrong about missing out on something, because this was like, it's not a perfect season. I can get into what the stuff I don't like later on. But I do. You know, what keeps me invested is the very, very just lightning in a bottle chemistry between Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, 2 of the finest character actors that we have today. I also really love Dean Norris as Hank. Like perfect douchebag stock character.
so hateable, but like weirdly endearing somehow.
Yeah, like I really love that character. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I know that there are more actors that I love it that are going to be in this show later on, so I'm holding out for them.
Looking at you, Giancarlo Esposito.
And Bob Odenkirk, I'm really excited for
Yeah.
him too.
Yeah.
But what was another general thing that I had? I like what the show has to say about the American dream and all of that stuff. Some of the symbolism, like I get why people like it, and of course at the time for TV, like art house television was not super popular at that time, so I applaud them for their boldness in doing that. But I don't think everything had to be green.
Yeah.
um, and the color yellow being like danger, like I was like, yeah, there's like 5 yellow things here. I know someone's gonna die, but anyway, that's okay. That's okay because I applaud the effort, even though I'm a bit of a pretentious asshole. Um, I love that it's kind of like a dual-sided fish out of water story, where like Jesse is or Walt is like immediately jumping into the deep end, and Jesse is like gradually like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Um, why is he so greedy? Like we were fine. And I'm excited to see where those conflicts how those conflicts continue later on. The villains not super strong this season. Not a big fan of Tuco, but that's fine. I'm
People are always hit or miss on Tuco.
yeah,
I like him as an entry level like dealer because it's
right.
like what you would expect for somebody to just pop up in the wake of a big guy going. We'll talk about it later though.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I definitely like this season. I don't know, should we score it or should
We
we
can
wait till we
score it.
score the whole thing? Score season.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
go
give it.
season by season.
Yeah. Another big factor was Skylar. I'm not a big Skylar fan, and the thing about her sister shoplifting was like could have been cut from the
It's
episode.
a weird detour, yeah.
Yeah, they were like stealing is bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it really just serves to like create a divide with Skylar and Marie just for a few episodes.
okay.
And also to kind of show like Hank's hypocrisy in a way that like,
Oh,
oh, some crimes are fine, but like, yeah, we're working on that. Like whatever.
okay.
It's whatever.
Yeah. It
Um,
didn't even
but it's
occur to me that.
still it's still not super well executed.
Yeah. But all of that like is balanced out by the tone of the show like being very darkly comedic. So I think I'll go pretty high. I'll go 8.8 for
Yeah.
season 1. Yeah.
Yeah, season 1, it's probably my least favorite season.
Oh, okay.
And that said, I still fucking love it.
Right.
It does have issues like the Marie weird side plot. Skylar doesn't really come into her own, but I like that she's not stupid. That she
Yeah.
like actually catches on to stuff and like follows through and like calling numbers back. Because like a lesser show would just be like, oh, I'm just the dumb wife. He's just off doing whatever.
Right.
And I like that she's like actually trying to figure shit out the whole time.
Okay.
But besides that, I'm not a huge fan of her this season. She gets a little more agency as we progress, though.
Okay.
So for mostly those two reasons, and the cinematography doesn't quite come into its own. You get a lot of cool like window pane shots where they're like
Yeah.
throwing shit on the lens. But they really step it up every single season. Like by the last season, you're like, this shit's shot like a feature film.
Yeah.
And so seeing it like a little more dated, which is fine. It's to be expected for the first season. All that said, I'll give it a 9.2.
Nice.
Yeah, real positive scores all around. I'm glad you
Yeah.
don't hate it. It would have been a real awkward episode if you're like, Breaking Bad is the worst show I've ever seen.
I know, and now I got to do 4 more of these episodes.
Yeah.
um,
Oh.
yeah, the thing with Skylar, like it surprised me because I was like, well, this guy wrote on X-Files, which has one of the best female TV characters. Why is
Mhm.
she not? But to hear that she gets better in the future is
Yeah.
comforting.
Yeah, she gets kind of put in interesting places. And so she balances between like having agency and like becoming a victim even more than she already is in season 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm looking
We
forward to
won't we won't talk too much about that because that's
Yeah.
future chat and stuff.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we can start out with I guess we're already kind of talking side characters. So besides the villains, because we'll give those like their own special due here. But like Hank, Walter Jr., Skyler, who stood out, who fell flat.
I'm very, very happy to. Well, I already knew this ahead of time, actually going into the show, but like that they actually got someone with CP to play Walt Jr.
Hmm.
I think that was a really that was a bold decision, and like I think I don't know if it was a step forward because I haven't really seen a whole lot of that since, but you know the actor, what was his name?
RJ Might.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was really really good.
Hmm.
The intervention scene in Gray Matter was like
Yeah.
it started out kind of annoying because I was like the way like Skylar's being all corny mom shit, like it was
Hmm.
I feel like they were trying to be funny with it and it just wasn't funny. But then, Hank opens up and starts being vulnerable and then it gets funny and I was like, oh, okay, cool, this is cool. And then Walt Jr. comes in and is like, you're a pussy. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
And like, why won't you die already? Like
yeah,
throughout the
dude.
season, he just has these outbursts that are so good.
Yeah, I really really thought that was an amazing moment. It was an earned moment because he like the whole season like his dad's just like just barely out of reach for him and like um
Hmm.
he's like just on the sidelines watch like I don't know, imagine getting
Watching
courtside.
everything, honestly. Like
Yeah,
in school, he's kind of on the sidelines. Like in his family, he's just a spectator.
yeah, man. Like I can imagine like I was watching the NBA playoffs and like seeing those fans who were courtside watching the Lakers just be so like dumb and so like unbearable to watch.
Yeah.
I can imagine that pain, and for him, I'm sure it's even more because his dad's his hero.
Hmm.
So I really like Walt Jr., but
Yeah.
of the family, I think Hank is my favorite.
Yeah. Walt Jr., big fan of breakfast too.
Yeah.
So there's a article by Thrillist, and they chronologically go into every breakfast he has in the show, and like how excited he is for the meal, like what he's eating. Like, it's
Amazing.
hilarious. I love it. Um, yeah, Hank is like one of my favorite side characters throughout. He gets better and better. He goes like insufferable. He gets like, oh, I'm rooting for him here, but now I
Yeah.
hate him. He's just such a great character because he is the good guy, like on the surface. Like he's trying to bust meth dealers. Like that's a noble profession in this show. But he's such a dickhead that you like don't root for him, and it makes you join Walter's side
Yeah.
even more. There's a deleted scene that like epitomizes that during Walter's like 50th surprise party. He's like making a big speech that's like super emotional and like he's actually like opening up and being vulnerable. And right at the climax of that, you hear like police sirens and shit. And there's like a bunch of cop cars that storm up. And he comes out with 2 bottles. He's like, "The party's here, motherfuckers." He's like, "How you doing, you swinging dick?" And they're like unloading a keg out of the back of a police car.
Oh my
And he
god.
like he like sexualizes Skylar, which is weird on a lot of levels. Um, but you just hate him, but he's so entertaining at the same time that you're
Yeah.
like, I hate this guy, but every time he's on screen, I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. Um, yeah, he's so cool. I think my favorite I have a favorite Hank quote and a favorite Hank scene.
Mm, hit me
The
with it.
quote is, "Chick's got an ass like an onion."
Makes me want to
Makes
cry.
me want to cry, which is a very succubus hellbent quote.
It's so good. But
Yeah.
like my favorite one is the scared straight scene with Walt Jr. when they're just in the car together.
Mhm.
I think it's a great way of doing exactly what you said about humanizing him and showing us that, like, yeah, you know, cops suck, but but some of them are really in it to try to make the world a better place. And it's also like a key scene because it reminds the audience of the human cost of Walt's actions. You know, you want him to get that money to support his family, but at the same time, the like putting more meth into the world is doing a lot of damage. And it was weird too because like I feel like um, there's a lot of weird coincidences in the thing, and I feel like even though the show is a lot about choices, there's still like this heavy theme of coincidence and like us being kind of unintentionally linked because Jesse is immediately linked to that scared straight scene, and so I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting thing.
Yeah. And that the scene when Wendy goes back to Jesse and she's like, I don't know, I think they wanted to sell me weed or something. Like, it's so good. And it's
Yeah.
such a good like comic relief after a serious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wendy's a fantastic, like the most side character you can get, but she pops up like throughout the whole series
Oh,
as
nice.
this like this is the damage of meth, but also like kind of a weird comic relief with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super cool. I like that she's in the first season a lot too.
hmm
My favorite Hank quote is well, there's two in the same scene
Okay.
where he says, "Does the Pope shit in his hat?" Mostly because Marie is like, "No, I don't think he does." And then it's also closely followed with, "I want Shania Twain to give me a tuggy," which is an insane sentence.
He calls out Shania Twain a couple times,
He does.
which
He's
I
got a
don't.
weird obsession.
Yeah, I don't blame him. It's Shania Twain, but
Yeah,
it's just
yeah. It's a very 2008 like crush to have.
right.
Oh, but yeah, Hank is fantastic. What about? I'm curious to hear what you think of like Jesse's like druggy friends. Like you got Skinny Pete, you
Oh.
got Badger, the guy who had the money sign that he cooks with, and I forget the name of the other dude who's like with Skinny Pete in the scene where Jesse's like, "Oh, I don't want to share my meth." But they all like are super involved in the show going forward. So I'm curious to hear your initial impressions as them as individuals or a group.
I had no impressions,
Hmm.
but because like they were just kind of, I wasn't really
Yeah.
the conflict that with Jesse that I really liked was the ones between him and Walt, but also the ones between him and his home. Those were the ones that those were the scenes that I was really like, oh, okay, cool. But like during those scenes, I was kind of just like tightening my notes and stuff. Like I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's fair.
But on the other hand, like now that we're thinking about it, now that you've asked me about it, like I'm like, okay, this is an interesting way to look at the way Jesse is treated by the people in this environment versus the people in the suburban environment.
Yeah.
And I think that contrast is valuable to have. So like even though I didn't think about it initially, like I definitely wouldn't cut those scenes and I definitely wouldn't cut those characters. So if they get developed further on, like awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how offhandedly they're introduced. Like
Right.
Skinny
Yeah.
Pete, yeah, it seems like he's only there to serve as like the introduction to Tuco. And like Badger's just this dude that he like knows that also cooks meth sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see kind of where they take them. Um, We last on characters, I think we could talk about the two drug dealers. You got Crazy Eight and Tuco as the first two. They kind of go up the drug lord ladder throughout the show,
Yeah.
and those are the first two rungs. What'd you think?
I like the first rung a lot more than the second. I think Crazy Eight or Domingo is like a really nice balance between what they're trying to do. Like, there's this guy
Mhm.
who is a piece of shit, but he's a human piece of shit, and
Yeah.
they do it like, especially what was it, bag in the bags in the river, is that the one where he
Mhm.
kills him?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, like, yeah, of course, after a conversation like that, you would spare his life. Like, anybody would choose to do
Mhm.
what Walt.
You bought a crib from the man's dad.
Yeah, and like I think it's at the end of that episode or the end of the next
When
episode
they
where they
cut to
show the name, yeah, on the freaking
yeah.
crib, and I'm like, dude, like, and killing Domingo, it's like that scene is brutal. It's disgusting. You can see his eyes popping out of his head.
Yeah.
And then they cut to the flashback and he says and like, that can't be it, that can't be all the human ingredients.
What
And
about the soul?
what about the soul? There's nothing but chemistry here. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, you see
Woo.
like little tinges of Walt's like psychotic side early. Like
Yeah,
that and when he kicks the bully in the clothing store.
yeah,
Like you see these little like outbursts or like, oh, so he's kind of had this in him the whole time.
yeah.
Um,
I love it. So I love Domingo / Crazy Eight. Tuco, like I said, I could take him or leave him. I hope that it gets better in season two. I imagine it will get better in season two, especially like contrasting like Walt is like the kind of this cool head versus him who's like a hothead.
mhm.
I've seen too many of the unhinged middle management criminal who like who just beats up their own dudes or kills their own dudes. Like for this season 1 story, um I I appreciate um that they brought someone in to scare Walt and Jesse,
Mhm.
but I'm just not scared of him personally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. Um, yeah, I agree. I like Crazy Eight a lot. I think he's a super cool first like antagonist for the show.
Yeah.
Um, like they humanize him super well. The way that Walt figures out that he's also kind of full of shit is fucking brilliant, and I love the plate puzzle scene so much.
So good.
Um,
Color
yeah,
yellow.
they just do a great job with Crazy Eight. The like offhanded, like, oh, this guy was our snitch. Also makes you feel less bad about it, so you're not dwelling on his death too much after.
Yeah.
But you still get the punch when it happens. They handle Crazy Eight super well throughout. He's fantastic. Tuco, I also kind of have mixed feelings on. I like him because like in the world he replaces Crazy Eight, and so he's just this fucking psycho who just took advantage of the situation because he's insane, and like
Yeah.
that's it. So I like the position that he's put in, but like you said, he's kind of just a weird stereotype that like doesn't have a lot going on, and I won't get into season two. Um, but he just doesn't have a ton going on. He just serves to be a lunatic. That said, I do love his contrast with a real minor side character, but Hugo, the janitor who gets arrested, because they're both
Um,
kind of crazy, like racial stereotypes in a way.
yeah.
But the like juxtaposition has such a good, like a good, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it says something important about the war on drugs, where
Right.
like this dude who's insane and like killing people is untouchable, but this minor, super nice guy, like just happy to be here and be a help in the service, is the victim of the war on drugs. And I
Yeah.
love that. It's a good commentary just having both of them in there. And so I like him for serving that purpose too.
Yeah.
But as a character, he's kind of just there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's such a good connection. I didn't even think about Hugo versus
Yeah, because
Tuco.
you compare Crazy Eight and Tuco, but like I feel like they named Hugo and Tuco similarly just so people would kind of put
Yeah.
it together. At least I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit there, but
Well, it's the same
I just
episode,
like
right? That
yeah.
Crazy Handful of Nothing. Yeah.
hmm yeah, I like Hugo a lot. He's just a cool, wholesome thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of just shoot off real quickly, but it leaves a bit of an impact right away.
Right.
But speaking of commentary, the show isn't just violence. They got some shit to say. You mentioned the American dream. They kind of have a theme of this man literally has the American dream to a T, and he's still unhappy. And so like that's something you don't really see often at this time, at least.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about them handling the American dream?
I love it. It's one of my favorite aspects of season 1 because I only knew. Well, of course, I've seen Bryan Cranston in his movies since Breaking Bad
hmm
revived his
Yeah,
career.
and Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, but like, yeah, exactly. Like that was the only thing I knew him from was the dad and the
Mhm.
dopey dad and Malcolm in the Middle, who was the butt of the joke so often in that
Yeah,
show.
the roller skating episode is burned into my mind.
He's also in his underwear a lot in there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Apparently, while filming this, he would like take lunch just in his underwear. Like he at the beginning, he would change and he's like, this is just nice. It's free.
right.
And so he was in his underwear like constantly on set.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that happens with a lot of actors when they're asked to do like nudes or sex scenes. Like
Mhm.
after the fact, like they're like way more comfortable. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's
they're
already
like
seen
whatever. Who gives a
everything.
shit?
Yeah.
Honestly.
um, but yeah, the like when he gets cancer, it's like the ultimate like failure of in his pursuit of the American dream, and he just
Mhm.
gets stepped on and rolled over for like the first 4 episodes, and it's so cool to see that kind of. I was watching the behind the scenes, and Vince Gilligan called it like a Wolfman or Jekyll and Hyde story, and
Yeah.
it like when he becomes Heisenberg, it's not just, for intimidation. It's because he understands that the American dream is about dominating others and about
Mhm.
holding power over others. And so, by taking on that persona, like it's just a really cool way of looking at this pursuit of power and this pursuit of respect, and just showing the audience that it's like it's not it's not worth it. um and like, I talked some shit about the intervention scene, but like it's there too. Like we see humanity and we see goodwill in Walt's family. Like they just want him to be okay and they want to spend more time with him, and he
Yeah.
can't see that. Like he can't
Mhm.
accept. He sees it but he doesn't accept it because it's not good enough for him.
Yeah. His
um
line in that where he's like, I've never made a choice in my whole life. Like
yeah.
I want to do this my way. Also says a lot about like his agency he's had in his life till now.
Yeah, but then right after that, his wife says, "Make the right choice because you're not the only one it
Yeah.
affects."
And then he changes his mind immediately.
So good, so good.
Yo.
Yeah, I think the show is very very smartly touching on these details in a way that's dramatic.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of TV shows now feel like they need to just say it without giving us good drama first. And this season 1, I think, besides like a lot of the other stuff that I said that I love, this is one of the best aspects of the show so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely excels because it's so well written. Like
Yes.
the script is just the anchor that holds all of it down. Because I don't know, without it, like you would still have great chemistry between Walt and Aaron Paul, but like it's just it wouldn't be the same if every detail didn't have so much weight to it the entire show.
Hmm.
Um, that said, there's also they comment a lot on the American dream, but also kind of tie it into like the healthcare system, and also like the economy in a way. How this super intelligent, like started a Nobel Prize winning company is teaching high school and like incredibly unfulfilled by it,
Yeah.
which is such a cool dynamic. And it just adds to like you believing that he would just snap like the way he does. And then obviously the healthcare system, this man who's been a public servant for his entire life in a way, uh, can't pay for his cancer treatment at all. They can't
Crazy.
even pay for hot water in the morning for their disabled son's shower.
Jeez.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It has a lot of weight to it, despite it being pretty comedic for a lot of the show too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh man, I forgot about the hot water thing too. Sheesh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like a half-assed line in like the beginning of the first episode, but it
Right.
sets the stage so well for their financial troubles immediately.
Yeah. And he has to when he I love the scene when he has to clean the student that he accosted. He has to clean that student's car. Like,
Yeah.
goodness gracious, dude.
Yup.
Hard to
Yeah.
watch.
It absolutely is. And like him taking photos and like that like that's just gonna be a thing for fucking years because that's how much of an asshole the high schoolers are. Um
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
man,
it's fantastic.
I love it.
Um
I also love in the episode Gray Matter when they're at the party and you like
mhm,
see like he's smarter than all of these people and yet he's
yeah.
completely left behind. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that party I didn't like that much the first time around because I
Mm,
don't know, something about Gretchen and Elliot's characters I was just kind of like whatever about.
yeah,
But the more I rewatched it, the more I love it. Like
yeah,
you get such a genuine relationship between Elliot and Walt. From like the dude giving him Eric Clapton's Strat right
yeah,
before Walter gives him a thing of ramen, and he appreciates the ramen way more. Like it's such a
yes,
cool thing.
yeah,
And then they're like the ones shooting the shit afterwards and like reminiscing. Like it's so well done.
yes.
That scene had grown on me immensely. Even the costuming in that is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Um, what else do I got for you? I feel like I'm interviewing you about Breaking Bad here.
This is kind of how I imagined it, so this is good.
Yeah, good, good. Um, there's a couple of heavy moments that we mentioned. We keep throwing lines out. One of them that stands out to me before Skylar knows he has cancer, she says, "Remember you said that when she's 16 and starts dating." When he's like, "Oh, I was hoping it'd be a girl." Like, there's so
Mm,
many lines that just have so much weight because you know something that other characters don't, and it plays those moments super well.
yeah.
Yeah, the we also get our first heist of the show. There's a lot
Oh,
of heists in this show,
dude, I
which
love the
is one of
heist.
my favorite parts of it. What'd you think about the first heist? Because it's kind of a big point in his transition to being Heisenberg.
Dude, it was so fun. It's in the last episode, right? Or the second to last?
Yeah, it's in the very last.
Very last. Okay, yeah.
There's a lot in the last two episodes. They move through some shit.
Yeah, um I love it. I think it is amazing. I think it's right
Mhm.
before that that Jesse says he looks like Lex Luthor, um,
Yeah.
which was another great one. Yeah, it is super clean editing. Trapping the guy in the porta potty is like next level embarrassing. I love
Uh-huh.
it. Um, like, where are the gallons? And then they have to take the barrel out. You're like, oh my god, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just super fun. And you see like how amateur they are,
Yeah,
but Walter's just so smart that it doesn't matter because
right.
he's just on a different level. He's like, yeah, obviously we can make thermite out of these etch a sketches. Duh.
Yep. Oh man. And like I think this is the heart of the show where like you get these really awesome scenes where the two main characters are just barely scraping by, and like as an American watching like an underdog, like an underdog action sequence, or not necessarily action sequence, but like an underdog story. Like of course we're fully invested in it. Of course we're rooting for them, even though they're doing something evil. Like
Yeah.
oh my god, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes that I'm like waiting on the edge of my seat to get you to watch because I know you'll love it as much as I am. Um, Maybe I won't even say what it is.
Which
Can I give
season?
you 2 words? Is that too much?
Give me 2 words.
Train robbery.
Okay.
Are you sold yet?
All right. We'll put off Cowboy Bebop and just keep watching.
Actually, 4 words. Train robbery, Jesse Plemons.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. That sold me. We're gonna keep watching Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
folks.
The heists in the show are just so good. They're like so well done, and who doesn't like a good fucking heist? So
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
I love it a lot. But enough about future. We'll go back to reality here. And the biggest reality, Walter's a teacher, and his
Mm,
classroom lessons tie a little too on the nose with the show. But I love them. They actually brought in like chemistry professors to write out the lesson plans and like tie it into the show. So like everything's knowledgeable and like accurate. Um, but it starts with the first one where he's like, chemistry is the study of change,
yes.
um, and growth, then decay, then transformation is a line he has there. And this whole series, and this season especially, literally follows that beat for beat. Like he grows into this, he gets knocked down, and then he transforms into Heisenberg.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a super cool way to kind of open up the series. But what do you think of the classroom scenes?
I think my favorite one, I'm double checking through them. It might have been the one where he talks about chiral, where he talks about
Yeah,
the term
that's
chiral.
episode 2.
Yeah, from the Cats in the Bag, he says that chiral are non-superimposable mirror images. So although two compounds may look the same, they may not always behave the same way. And
Mhm. He
I
even
think,
says good and evil like
yeah,
in that too. Uh,
exactly,
but it's
exactly.
so good that it doesn't matter if it's that on the nose.
Yeah, and like it doesn't necessarily just have to apply to himself. Like you could apply that to Walton Jesse, you could apply that to Walton Skyler or
Yeah.
Walton
You can
whatever
apply it
drug.
to Hank if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Uh and um and it especially works for this show because for the Cats in the Bag, that's the episode with the coin flip.
Mhm.
And you get this really amazing situation where, two losers, two very likable losers are forced into a situation where they have to do something unthinkable. Um,
Yeah.
and like, you get this is, you know, this is like where that chiral theme comes in about
Mhm.
duality and about, but it also links into the themes of fate. Like I asked myself when I was like before I started the next episode, like would the show be different, like, or how would the show be different if the path was reversed and the coin flip was different? Like what if Jesse had to kill
Yeah.
Domingo? What if
Yeah.
Walt had to if because I think if Walt disposed the body, it would have been way easier. Like,
Yeah,
and
because he would have gotten the right fucking box and not put a hole in the goddamn ceiling.
yeah,
Which is a
yeah.
great scene, by the way. The chunks falling.
Dude, oh my god. Oh, that's great television, right? Like
Yeah.
that's, oh my god, so
But
good.
when it's backed by like good drama, who cares if it's just like gore, essentially?
Exactly, exactly. And the very next shot of them cleaning up the very first shot in the next episode
Mhm.
of them cleaning, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Um Yeah, I think the chiral lesson was my favorite.
Mhm.
I'm looking through to see if there's another one that caught my eye.
Yeah.
Um, you already the one in the second to last episode was the one you were talking about, right? About chemical reactions.
No,
Oh, okay.
it was the first one that mentioned, but the one in the second last episode is actually my favorite,
Yeah, it was
because
close.
it's kind of a red herring at first too,
Hmm.
because you get like he says if you don't remember, he's talking about like chemical reactions and like gradual versus rapid change, and of how something happens quickly, it can be violent or explosive. And I think it's fantastic because you think, um, after you finish that episode, you're like, oh, that was about from Crazy Eight to Tuco, or them going to above their like level and just jumping to Tuco. He's
Right,
the explosion and he's blowing up on them. But then the next episode, you get like the literal explosion,
right.
from Walt transforming a bit too quickly into Heisenberg, and losing his goddamn mind real quick. And I think it's great. I think it's my favorite because it comments on like character development and also foreshadows the mercury fulminated mercury that he uses
Hmm.
in there. There's just a lot of connections with that one, and it runs pretty deep. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's also up there for me. Because all that foreshadowing that you mentioned is done at the same time that we're seeing the side effects of Walt's cancer treatment.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's just really like it's so efficient. Like, um, you know, it like all this storytelling is very difficult to do and very difficult to cram cinematically into 45 minutes. But
Yeah.
that particular sequence it's just effortless, and I love it.
Yeah, it's a crazy good writing. And the thing I like most about the writing, which becomes more apparent later, is they don't do the I'm gonna call out Game of Thrones. I love it. It's one of my favorite shows ever. I think people even shit on the last season a bit too much. I liked it. Um, but they didn't know how to end it when they started the show. Breaking Bad had like a defined ending. And so
Right,
they're writing to get to that point so they know, okay, here we have to hit this beat. We have to have this development by this point. And so it's very like strategic in the way they like hit their beats. And you can feel that they like are actively always working towards something rather than kind of meandering and lollygagging, which is also why I didn't really like The Walking Dead, like because it felt like I was just meandering through this world that I didn't really care too much about.
yeah. And even the meandering here, like it's purposeful. Like in
Hmm.
Cancer Man, when Jesse is at home, like that's one of my favorite sequences because it's super slow, but it's super like it does so much work in getting you to love this character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like season three is an episode about killing a fly, and that's the whole episode. But it's great, and like you actually like get a lot out of it.
Right.
So like when they do meander and they have these weird like tangents, maybe not for Marie shoplifting, but it works, and most of the time it has a great payoff.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it.
You know.
Um, what else you got?
Um, I think we're hitting all the main points. We could jump into favorite episodes because that'll spark a lot of discussion, I'm sure.
Faux show.
But I'll do a quick breeze through, see if there's anything. One of my favorite notes I took was in episode 4. I wrote it was during that does the Pope shit in his hat, that same like barbecue. But I was like, this show absolutely nails white suburban family dialogue because like I've been in basically that exact conversation where everybody's trying to be too polite and it's
Right.
all just kind of small talk. And then there's one guy who like crosses the line a little bit just because he knows it'll get a laugh that he crosses the line.
Right.
Like I know every single person at that table growing up. They absolutely make it like a real family. Like you believe that like this is just suburban life that it is.
Yeah. Um, I that's the when they do like a barbecue, right?
Yeah, and he
Yeah. Okay.
burns
Okay.
the Emerald burns the chicken.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's a good one. Is that your favorite episode?
No, I just wanted to point out that scene.
Oh, okay, cool.
Um,
Yeah.
it's also kind of a horny season. I don't know if we'll get to. I don't. There's not a lot of analysis except the connection of like whenever he gets the high off like cooking meth or like doing something ballsy like that. It compares well to the bland job he gets in episode 1.
True.
But that's about it. It just kind of shows that he's more alive when he's doing drug shit. But now that that's out of the way, what are some of your favorite episodes?
I think I like "And the Bags in the River." There's a lot of heavy hitting scenes in that one. The killing of Domingo I already talked about, but like even just the beginning when he's like when he feeds Domingo the sandwich and he's like, "You don't have it in you," and his back is to the shadow in the basement and he's facing the light upstairs.
So good.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Even with like the lesser than great cinematography in the season, like that's a brilliant storytelling moment. I love the scene of them fighting over the meth and like kicking each other while Jesse's on the toilet. Like,
Yeah.
it's so clumsy.
It's so like genuine and childlike. It's
Yeah.
great.
I love it. That's a great one because it's a frame episode as well where they're naming the elements in the human body while cleaning up a broken down human body, and then talking about the human soul right after you took a soul. It's great. But I think my favorite episode is the second to last, Crazy Handful of Nothing.
Literally my 2 favorite episodes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, honestly, like I'm way more excited for second to last episodes in shows.
Stop stealing the words out of my mouth. It's always way better because the last episode they're just setting up the next like premiere.
Yeah.
But the second to last is when they're actually wrapping shit up and like everything happens.
Yep. I remember Lovecraft Country, which came out last year. The final episode is actually my least favorite in that season. It's only having one season now, which is sad, but whatever. But the second to last episode, I remember just openly weeping. Like I wept like a baby in that episode. And this one, like, same like what Jared said. Like, that's exactly what they would do with Game of Thrones. Like the second to last episodes were always the best ones. And even though I do like the finale here, just the shot of him throwing the ammonia. What was it? What was the thing? The crystal the bomb.
Oh, the fulminated mercury.
Like the shot of him just chucking it at the ground. So cool.
In slow-mo. Like, because you don't get a lot of slow-mo in this. They do some like slow-mo meth cooking montages throughout the show.
Oh yeah.
But that badass scene is so good.
Yeah, man. The opening shot through the bullet holes is awesome, and then almost right after that, it's like no matter what happens,
falling.
Yeah, like no matter what happens, no more violets. Like, come on, dude! Like, you're cooking meth.
You're in the meth industry. You're not gonna...
The jump cut montages, like the slow mo montages, were cool. The jump cut ones where it's Jesse trying to push the drugs.
Yeah.
I didn't. They gave me a headache. I don't know.
Really, I liked it. I
really?
thought it was cool because it's good that it's disorienting because it's this weird underbelly world. I think it works well being a little more dissonant.
Yeah. Okay.
And also the music's great. The music's great in this whole show. They come into their own future in future episodes because it's always super on the nose. There's a whole season that's like narrated by a mariachi band.
Amazing.
So they lead into it, but like you get Who's Gonna Save My Soul, I think at the end of the last episode, which is fantastic. The music's on point, and I like the music a lot in that dealing montage too.
Yeah, I agree. What else was I gonna say? Oh, before I finish a second to last episode, do you know Rodrigo y Gabriela?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I grew up listening to that first album that they had, where they did a bunch of. So hearing it when Walt first meets
Hmm.
Jesse, I was like,
Yeah.
yes.
There's
Uh,
I don't want to plug other podcasts on this podcast, but Spotify did a like podcast series on like music supervisors, and
mm,
they did a episode for Breaking Bad, and it was super interesting. But they also did like Baby Driver and had Edgar Wright on. It was super cool. I don't remember the name of it, but so it's not a true shout out, but it's super cool to hear like why they picked the songs that they did
yeah,
for this show.
I agree. I agree. Um, I also my last note about the second to last episode is that I appreciate that the show took time to show that like that Walt has like a genuine that even though he needs Jesse, like he actually does care about him a
Hmm.
bit. And so I don't know if that'll change going forward, but I appreciate that moment in the hospital when he was looking at him and getting angry.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of takes on like a fatherly role almost immediately, where
Yeah.
he's like, I need to train you to be what I want you to be. It's like an abusively fatherly role,
Okay. Cool.
um, but it's great. Their dynamic is fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Like from the acting chemistry to just the characters themselves and that dynamic. They butt heads just enough, but also work together weirdly well, and like their
Hmm.
strengths counteract each other's weaknesses. Um, yeah, the dynamics super rad. You already took both my favorite episodes, episode 3 and episode 6. Episode 6 especially, you get some beautiful cinematography, like the holes in the RV, as you mentioned. You get my favorite classroom scene, as I talked before. The Tuco and Hugo like dynamic and comparison takes place wholly in this episode.
Hmm.
You're introduced to Hugo, and he's gone by the end of the episode, I think.
Yeah.
You get Hank confronting Walt about the stolen lab equipment, which Hank out loud says, "You don't want people worrying about you, do you?" Which is great because he's so close that it's so fantastic.
Yeah.
You get some cool Skinny Pete stuff. You get my favorite shot in the whole season, which is when he's going to confront um, Tuco, and you get like through the window pane where it's like yellow and red, and he goes back
Mm.
and forth. Because you mentioned the yellow being danger, which it's very obvious and kind of heavy-handed, from like the mustard on the doctor's shirt
Yeah.
to like the Crazy Eight's car and Crazy Eight's vest, the inside of the RV, the bag he tries to kill Crazy Eight with, Walter's shirt when he stomps the bully's leg in the clothing store. Like there's so many examples of yellow being danger. And so they like ham fisted in this whole time.
Yeah.
And then you get a crisp fucking shot of him like fully yellow. He's like, I'm in danger, and then fully red, he's like, I am the fucking danger, bitch. And
Yeah,
like
man.
fully yellow, he's like, am I the danger? And it's great.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite shots in the whole series, and
Hmm.
my favorite shot in this season for sure. There's just a lot of gems here, and the finale is also fantastic. Like
Hmm.
they kill it on that. The open house is hilarious. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
I straight up forgot to take notes for most of the last episode because the pacing was so nice.
Yeah, I didn't take notes when I first watched it, and then I went back and I like skimmed through, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this," and like, "Oh this," because I was just so busy watching. I didn't want to take notes.
Right.
But you also get the heist in the last episode, the introduction of blue meth, comes in that last episode.
It's great.
Tuco beating the shit out of his goon with his bare hand for asking, "Don't forget who you're working for."
Yeah.
We know he's a caricature, but that's kind of a badass, intimidating scene. You just get a lot of good stuff in the finale too. It's what I want out of a finale. Like, it stands on its own. It's not just to set up the next season, although it does that very well. Like, season 2, episode 1 starts at the junkyard where this ended. Like, it picks up immediately.
Yeah.
And so it sets it up perfectly too. It's just a great finale.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And the last episode's title's a Fargo reference. And so how could you not love it?
It sounded familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, when Jerry or whatever his name is kidnaps his wife.
I caught the Cool Hand Luke reference for Crazy Hand, but I didn't catch the Fargo. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they got their references all over the place in this show, honestly, especially with the titles.
Yeah. So where's Cats in the Bags in the River? Where's that from? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Cats in a Bag is I thought it was a Cats in the Cradle thing. But I don't know for sure. But it ends in an ellipses, and Bag in the River starts with the ellipses. So they're like clearly connected. So it's probably not that. It's probably something else, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
And obviously Pilot is in reference to every show ever.
Yeah. Kind of a shame that they called it Pilot, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Because all the other
There
titles
actually
are
is a cool storyline with like a pilot later. And so it's, I don't know. It has nothing to do with that immediately. But it's a cool little callback that people will make retroactively.
Did you have a least favorite episode?
I mean, yeah, I'll scroll through.
I know it's probably a hard question to ask for your favorite
yeah.
TV show of all time.
Yeah. But like because I rated each one individually,
Right.
just in case. Episode 5 was my least favorite, which was actually the birthday party one. But the birthday party takes up most of the entire episode.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it was my least favorite.
Yeah, and at that point you're already at like hour 2.5 or hour 3 of Jesse and Walt being
Yeah.
separated.
Mhm.
And so it's like, yeah, of course that makes the reconnection in episode 6 that much better. But I'm like, come on, bring them together.
Yeah.
Like, that's Breaking
Yeah,
Bad, is
you're-
them together.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. And it's cool because you also get like it gives him an out for like his treatment payments. He's like kind of not laundering the money, but like laundering a lie in a way.
yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
like necessary, and like Elliot and Gretchen are going to be recurring characters every now and then because they're so ingrained in that lie now. And so it's cool. It's a cool introduction and setup, but it's, I don't know, it's just a lot of time to spend on that. So it falls the flattest of any episode here.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you agree?
Sort of. I'm between this one and Cancer Man because, like, yeah, Cancer Man has those really awesome scenes of, Walt revealing the stuff, but like, I don't know. I was like, but I was that's the one where I felt the slowest, the slow pace. Like, I felt it the most acutely in that episode, I think.
Yeah.
Which is it's natural for a mid-season episode. So I don't fault the writers too much, because I know that's kind of what needs to happen. I do like setting Ken's car on fire.
Very satisfying.
Yeah, and now I know what to do in that situation. If it's that
Yeah.
easy, like yeah, go for it.
I was talking to Megan, and we walked by like a convertible, like a real douchey convertible like that with its top down, like parked in 2 different spots. And I was like, you ever see that and just want to throw like an entire cheeseburger inside. I just always want to throw something inside of open convertible.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And so it was very satisfying to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Cancer Man or Gray Matter were the slowest, but I'll give the edge to Gray Matter just because I like the I like seeing like Walt's face every time someone showed off like some accomplishment that they did, and or every time he corrected someone about the like a chemistry question.
Yeah.
I like that part of it.
Yeah. And Cancer Man gets a little bit of an edge for me too. Because you get some great Hank lines. But Jesse's like paranoia fever dream of the Mormons knocking on his door is hilarious. It's one of
Yeah.
the best jokes. And the show kind of makes a point not to glamorize drug use because it is a show about getting rich off cooking meth. And so like
Yeah.
they have to throw in these moments. They're like, remember, drugs are bad. Don't do meth. And it's a hilarious way to do that, to show that it doesn't look like fun at all.
Yeah.
Also, Jesse giving Walt his money is a great scene. I like
Mhm.
it a lot. Walter kind of learns that he can't only be a dick to Jesse because he needs Jesse for some stuff like slinging meth on the streets. And so you get a bit of character dynamic or a character development with their relationship in particular.
Yeah.
And it's a cool scene. And plus him getting the pool skimmer to skim hundreds out of his pool is hilarious too.
Yeah, I do love that one. I also love like that he took the fall for his brother's joint. Like he was so close to coming back
Yeah.
home, and
Yeah.
like yeah,
Jesse's so lovable for a druggy douchebag dropout. Like
yeah,
he's not somebody I'd hang out with, but
yeah.
he's got a lot of heart to him.
It was that scene where I was like, okay, I get why he's everyone's favorite character in this show now. Like, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, and yeah, he's given so much like care and attention like as a character because it'd be so easy to make it just the Walt show.
Right.
But they don't, and that's why it works so well for so long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts? Anything else you want to get off your chest?
I know we briefly talked about the cold open last episode, with the underwear. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, you're like, I remember seeing him in his underwear. I'm like, episode 1, like right away.
I just love the shot of the camera coming out of the gun barrel. That's iconic. I've seen it
Yeah.
around Twitter
Clearly
everywhere,
not.
but I still loved it when I watched it. And I, yeah, like I love flash forwards in television. Like that's one of my favorite techniques because
Oh, just you wait.
yeah, it's
They
great.
do it a lot coming up. I think season 2 is when it starts, but they'll flash forward to something that happens like 15 episodes later.
Oh,
every
wow.
single episode.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I love it. Because TV or great TV is about the questions, and freaking Twin Peaks flashes forward 25 years in the first episode. Like,
Yeah.
like this is what modern television is about: is how many compelling questions can you deliver in the most efficient way, in the most entertaining way.
Yeah.
And that
And also like answer them well. Like
Yeah.
have the payoffs be there.
Yeah, and that cold open does it pretty well. First episode note that I like, freaking, he puts chili powder in his meth. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I don't know if it is, but it's fucking crazy to me.
It's like, I've never smoked meth. I've seen people on BART smoke meth, but like,
That's enough.
yeah, but like, freaking like smoking chili powder it just sounds so much worse for some reason, even though it's
Yeah.
not as bad for you. I'm like,
Yeah.
ugh.
I would
Like,
rather smoke that.
yeah. I use that so much in the kitchen that like I would never breathe this in. Like,
But the juxtaposition from like that and when he cooks with Badger is a crazy amount of change already, because he's like,
yeah,
oh, this is this kind of flask, this is this kind of beaker, everything has to be perfect, I'm throwing this meth out because it's not pure enough.
right.
Like, he already makes huge jumps like right away in his meth philosophy.
Yeah, I'm an artist, man. Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's most of what I had. The rest is kind of
Yeah.
just random shit that I took down. But
Groovy.
I'm excited for season 2.
Yeah, me too. I'm already there. I'll probably watch it twice by the time we get to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I'm not worried about like spending too much time in Breaking Bad, because like I feel like there's enough people who've watched it that like maybe the show will grow.
yeah, maybe we'll cause a resurgence on Netflix.
maybe you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm finally taking the leap and finally getting my head out of my ass and starting this journey, because it's a really, really fun show.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have to be like, no, it gets even better. Like, hold on. I'm glad you're already on board.
Yeah, do you know any haters of season 1 who stopped watching in season 1?
Not that stopped watching, because I don't know, it's kind of universally gripping right off the bat.
Right.
Like, if you like the violence, drug, action scenes, you get a lot of that, especially in like episode 1. They bookend it really well. But if you like the family drama part of it, you get a lot of that right off the bat. And so it kind of appeals to a lot of demographics, but a lot of people that I've talked to about this show were like, yeah, season 1's kind of weak. And I'm like, it's fucking fantastic. I don't care.
Yeah. If this is the weakest one, then I'm all in, man. I'm gonna start watching
Yeah.
season 2 tonight after we stop
Hell yeah.
recording. All right.
Well, I guess we could let you get to it then.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for bringing this up, Jared. I'm glad we finally did it.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for joining me on this version of my adventure. Half my rewatches has been with people who like hadn't seen it, and
Oh,
so
nice,
this feels
nice.
like the same.
Good.
But if you like Breaking Bad, or if you haven't seen it and you're still here, first off, kudos to you. Weird, but cool. I'm glad you're here. Watch it on Netflix. It's there.
Yeah. Maybe we
Um,
sold it for you by spoiling the entire first 7 episodes.
Yeah. Honestly, there's enough like nuance of it, like you would still enjoy it even if you got it all spoiled.
Oh yeah.
That said, follow us on everything at the Jared Cast.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere you want to listen to a podcast, we're probably there. So look us up. You probably already have a spot you like listening to us if you're listening to this, but
Yeah.
do it anyway. Try something else. Maybe branch out. You're on SoundCloud? Jump to Spotify for a bit. Watch our YouTube, you dingus.
You could join Sabrina, the only listener on Amazon.
Yeah. The only listener of anything on Amazon.
Yep. Oh man.
Yeah, but until next week, we love you and goodbye.
Love you. Bye.